The following is a Cable 14 special presentation.
We want to acknowledge that the City of Hamilton is situated upon traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase, 1792, between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America. And we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers.
Hello and welcome to our Cable 14 2025 Provincial Election Debates, presented in partnerships with our friend at the Hamilton Spectator. I'm Mike Fortune, and for the next hour and a half, I will be your moderator as we feature candidates from the riding of Hamilton East Stoney Creek. Joining us live in the studio, we have Heino Dosing, representing the Liberal Party, Zagham Butt, representing the New Democratic Party, and Pascal Marchand, representing the Green Party. Welcome to all of you. Thank you. The Progressive Conservative candidate, Neil Lumsden, was invited to participate in this debate, but declined to attend due to prior commitments. Also running in Hamilton East Stoney Creek are Heather Curnew, representing the Ontario Party. We have Wisława Durlachta, representing the Communist Party. And for everyone here in studio, we also have the New Blue Party, and Drew Garvey, representing the Communist Party. There we go. I got it all straight now. For everyone here in studio at Cable 14, thank you for participating in our Hamilton East Stoney Creek provincial election debate. The format for this broadcast includes 2 minutes for each candidate to make an opening statement. Then we'll be inviting 3 members of our local media to pose questions to the candidates. We'll also be putting forward questions that have been submitted by viewers, but more on that in just a moment. Cable 14 did make our best efforts to provide the other Hamilton East Stoney Creek candidates opportunities to record a statement. Those who took us up on that offer will have their statement included as part of this broadcast. After another round of media questions, we will then have an open floor debate where each candidate will be able to bring up a topic of their choice. Then we'll finish off with a 1-minute closing statement from each of our candidates here with us tonight. For viewers at home, if you're watching live, please make sure to tweet us on X at Cable14 or email election@cable14.com to share your questions that you would like us to ask our candidates that are here with us tonight. Please remember to include your first name and, of course, what neighborhood you're located in the Hamilton East Stoney Creek area. Well, that completes all the housekeeping. With that said, folks, let's get you started with your 2-minute opening statements. Representing the Liberal Party, Heino Dosing, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Fortune. Very excited to be here. Very excited to introduce myself to everyone out there tuning in today. My name is Heino Dosing, and I'm the Ontario Liberal Party candidate in the current provincial election here in Hamilton East Stoney Creek. I grew up in a union home. My mom, she was a personal support worker, and my dad, he was a mechanic and volunteered as a firefighter. My family had enough, but we didn't have a lot, so we relied on a strong public healthcare system when my mom's back gave out on her, and we relied on a strong public education system to give me the schooling that I needed to go out and get a decent job. And we relied on our politicians to manage our tax dollars well, because to my family, every dollar mattered. And now I'm going around and knocking on doors across Hamilton East Stoney Creek. I hear very similar stories. And I hear from folks that things are just going the wrong way, and they have been going the wrong way under Doug Ford and the progressive conservatives. Now, Bonnie Crombie and us Ontario Liberals will rebuild our economy, we'll take care of affordability, and will rebuild our public healthcare system and public education system. I'm an East Ender. I live over by Kenilworth Access, and I'm very active in the community. I think I do about 150 community events a year. I show up for everything: the Winona Scouts pancake dinner, the fundraisers down at the Stoney Creek Legion, Strawberry Fest, Apple Fest, you name it, I'm there. I show up for community, but I also step up to lead in community. I served on the board for not-for-profit daycare, where we implemented $10 a day daycare, not because we had to, but because it was required, and to help our young families with
thank
affordability.
you very much for your opening statement.
And I'm
we do have
excited
to continue to
be
move on.
your
We'll now be
MPP for
moving on
Hamilton
to
East Stoney
Zagham
Creek.
Butt of the Ontario NDP. Your turn, sir.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be back on Cable 14. And hello, everyone. My name is Zagham Butt, and I'm your NDP candidate for Hamilton East Stoney Creek. I lived in, volunteered, and have given back to our community, and still do to this day. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and those tuning in at home, thank you so much. This debate is an opportunity for people to learn about their candidates and how we plan to tackle the issues that matter most to you. Unfortunately, one candidate is missing: a minister with a track record of not showing up for his residents, just as he has not shown up here tonight. Transparency is severely lacking in Queen's Park, and that needs to change. This election is critical to the future of services that impact our lives: healthcare you can count on, dignified senior care, and not just for working for folks that already have everything, are wealthy. We need a government that leads with integrity, work for the people, and not for the wealthy. I have plowed through the snow, knocked on thousands of doors, and not a single person has said their standard of living is better than it was 7 years ago. Under the PC government, the cost of living has skyrocketed, our senior services have been neglected, our kids lack the resources that they need in school. Doug Ford and his representative in this riding have been absent when voters need them the most. This is why I'm applying for the job. People need support, and they need a government that's fighting for them. This is what I'll do. Let's bring a strong, trusted voice back to Queen's Park, a voice that will fight for you. Thank you so much. I look forward to the questions.
Thank you very much. I was Zagham Butt from the Ontario New Democratic Party. And finally, wrapping things up for the Green Party, Pascal Marchand. Floor is yours.
Hi, thanks, Mike. Thanks for the opening. And hello, bonjour, everyone. My name is Pascal Marchand, and I am your very proud Green Party candidate for Hamilton East Stoney Creek. I have lived in East Hamilton since the 90s, and for the last 2 years, I have been fighting for East Hamiltonians, working as a constituency assistant in the Ward 4 office with Councillor Tammy Huang. I'm here because I have been in the community, listening, learning, and understanding, and seeing the gaps in the system. That's what's pushed me to run, and that's why I'm here today. Those who are in community know that I show up. I don't need a selfie to prove it. In the last 2 years, I helped fast-track affordable housing, like at the Queenston Traffic Circle, where we were able to address the 8-year average wait time for affordable housing in the city of Hamilton. I also helped fast-track affordable housing so that we could build over 1,000 new units within the urban boundary in East Hamilton. I worked with community leaders to open a seniors active living center at Sir Winston Churchill so that our seniors have a place to move their bodies and socialize. I also made sure to fight against environmental injustice, against the soot and the noise pollution that is affecting us and keeping us up at night. I have been working with the media to make sure that they talk about it. I have attended every industry meeting to ask the tough questions to hold them accountable. And I have also worked with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks to make sure that they do something about it. And with the help of my colleague, Carrie Leclerc, we helped bring together Environment Hamilton and McMaster University to create the What's the Grind study so we could finally find out what's in it and how it affects our health. I am on this French Language Services Committee for the Hamilton Community Legal Clinic. I am also the spokesperson for the welcoming Francophone community for the city of Hamilton, welcoming newcomers and integrating them.
Pascal, thank you very much. Your time has wrapped up. That was a quick 2 minutes to all of you. Thank you very much, though, for your opening statements. And now we will be coming up to our media representatives. Tonight in the studio, we have John Wells from the Hamilton Spectator, Eric Viano from CHCH News, and Sarah Piesker from CBC. Each of them will choose a candidate to answer their question, and then we'll open up the topic to any other candidates who wish to speak directly to that topic. So our first question comes from the Hamilton Spectator's Mr. John Wells. John.
Thanks, Mike. Candidates.
Hey.
A question to the Liberal candidate, kind of at random, frankly, but to you. A question of political philosophy, in a sense. Where do you stand on the balance that should be struck between an MPP serving the wishes of the constituents versus following the party line in Queen's Park in terms of policy?
And I get a minute to answer that. I think the answer is pretty short here. My job as an MPP is to be my community's voice at Queen's Park. I'm not Queen's Park's representative to say what sort of great stuff Queen's Park is doing in the community. I am the community's voice. That's my number one job.
Any other candidates?
yeah, of
there
course.
are realities to the.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was just about to say the Liberals say one thing and do another. One thing you have in the NDP is what you see is what you get. And one thing in me, you'll know I'm someone that works in the community, has put up and volunteered in the community. I got the Order of Hamilton for giving back. And I'll continue being a strong voice for Hamilton East Stoney Creek, just as I've been for my union members. And I look forward to working with all the constituents, being a strong voice for them, because it's been missing. If you look in our ridings, I've been going door to door, neighborhood to neighborhood. What they're telling me is this MPP is not picking up calls. Is he doing his job? No,
So
he's not.
you're
This is
saying
why
that
I'm applying for
Liberals
the
are
job.
saying one thing and doing another. Can
Yes,
you
of
provide
course.
some tangible examples?
yeah,
Can you give me three
Can
examples?
we start with actually allowing ourselves to answer the question, at least the
Okay.
first round?
Okay, no, okay. It was just I was called out. Is that against the rules?
Please continue on.
Yeah,
It's
of
not
course,
against the rules.
Okay.
One thing is simple. We start with healthcare, right? And I'm not sure where the Liberals stand on our public health care. One thing we want to do is invest. And right now, what we've seen from the Liberals right now, they got $25,000. $25,000 from private lobbyists in the healthcare system, which is an absolute shame. Please don't start. We've seen it time and time again.
I'm happy to
Kathy,
address
this
that.
is why.
Can I address that? So we've been
still
raising
speaking.
millions
I'm still
of dollars
speaking,
from
Heino.
fundraisers.
So if you
Quite
probably,
frankly, some
seen
people
in Kathy and
healthcare
Liberals, this is
like
why they're
our
sitting at 7
policy.
seats.
Okay, I'm
This
gonna
is
jump
Some
in
people
now.
in healthcare like
I'm
our
gonna
policy. It's just a testament that we have great
Yeah.
healthcare policy.
Thank you
I'm
very
sorry
much.
to say.
Pascal, would you like to jump in on this particular topic?
Yes, thank you. I would
You're
like
welcome.
to speak about community, and I'm actually really excited to hear that you were nominated for the order and won. I'm actually nominated for the YWCA Women of Distinction Award as a community champion. So when we
Congratulations.
talk, thank you. So when we talk about community, I think that all of us actually work really, really hard for the community. I actually have a proven track record of fighting for the community. And what's really exciting about the Green Party is that unlike the other parties, we don't actually have a party whip, which changes the entire game. That means that if I need to step up for my community and it's slightly off base on what the party is saying, I can do that. I have the ability to actually stand up for my local community as opposed to doing what the Liberal whip or the NDP whip or the Conservative whip tells them to do.
And I just want to say that's amazing. And I know the Green Party is always at the forefront of thinking about how can we
usually come up with the
engage,
ideas that you come
engage
up with later.
folks
Thank
on
you.
the democracy. And ever since I first was elected, so I was elected for city council in my native Denmark 20 years ago. And one of the things I ran on was to engage people more in our democracy, make sure that young people got engaged in our democracy. And I just like it when people bring forward ideas on how we can engage folks way more in the democracy. And you know me, I've been engaged in that thinking here in Canada as well, put articles into the Spectator, putting ideas out there on how we can engage people more in the democracy. So I welcome what you're talking about here, that
I would actually
rethinking
challenge
democracy
what
and
you're
getting
saying
people
about
more
engaging
engaged.
democracy because
Yeah.
someone from your team actually sent us emails to tell us to step down. That is not engaging in democracy. That is actually asking people to pull themselves out for you to win.
From
so
what
how
team?
do you?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Liberals say one thing and do another, and I just want to say Canada has the best democracy in the world, and we have to fight for it, and we need it now.
Sorry,
we need
I
people
just
to
want
go
to say
the
that
voting
didn't come from
stations
my
and make their
team. I
voices
have no
heard, 'cause
clue what this
this
is about.
MPP is not doing it, and they know that the clear choice is me, the NDP candidate who was 2,000 votes shy last time. And this time we will win this riding back because they need a strong voice, just like I was a strong voice for my union members. And I don't mind working across party lines. What we need to do is bring back a strong voice in Hamilton East Stoney Creek. And it's been missing for far too long, two long years right now. 2 long years. I hear the pain in people's voices. I say enough is enough. Let's go out. The advanced polling starts this weekend. Let's go out, vote early, vote now. You could vote now, and let's do this.
So I just want to ask, who did that email come from? It certainly didn't come from my team, and calling BS on me working hard for our democracy and rethinking that. You can just go to my website, hamiltonhainaut.ca. Over the years, I put forward so many ideas on how we can get the percentage of participation in our democracy up from the 40s that we're at now to about the 80s, which we see in some comparable countries across the globe.
Okay.
I've been very, very strong on that.
If
I
you
just
want
want
to
to
talk
say
about it, we can talk about it
Yeah,
later. We
yeah.
can discuss it. I don't think it's right to talk about people's names on public television.
Thank you
Okay.
very much to our candidates for that first question posed by John Wells of the Hamilton Spectator. We will now bring up Eric Vieno from CHCH. Eric.
Thank you. I just want to ask about, I'm going to direct this one actually at the NDP candidate, but obviously it's for everyone. Housing is a major concern for many residents all over Ontario, finding it, keeping it, and we've heard that the landlord-tenant board is not making that easy as well. What would you do to address the backlogs in the landlord-tenant board?
Let me start with this. We're going currently right now, we have an affordability crisis. We could all agree with this right now. What we saw rent increased over 50% in Hamilton right now, and we have one of the lowest housing starts, which is an absolute shame. This is Doug Ford's Ontario. More families are using food banks. 81,000 people in our province are facing homelessness, and this is Doug Ford's Ontario. What we're gonna bring back is strong rent control. When I was talking to a constituent on Queenston, she's like, Zagam, I don't know how much longer I could afford this. My rent keeps increasing. I don't know how much longer I could hold on. I was like, when I'm elected on February 27th, when the Ontario NDP is elected on the February 27th, we're gonna bring back strong rent control. But we're gonna take a step further. We're gonna take a step further and we're gonna build. We're gonna get Ontario back in building and Ontario homes. It's a strong, bold plan. It's gonna build 1.5 million homes in Ontario, units that we need. You know we have a supply shortage. That's 300,000. That's gonna be non-market homes. That's co-ops. That's rent-to-gear income. And also, what we will have, we'll have 60,000 supportive homes wrapped around in addiction and other services as well. So one thing we gotta do is bring back rent control. We gotta get the government back into building because we need more supply and we need it now. We need to put people first, and this is what the Ontario NDP promised, and we're ready to take that lead on that.
So if I could also add to that, so the Green Party actually has a plan on how to deal with the landlord-tenant board, and that deal is to completely revise it and look deeply into the systemic faults that are within it. And that includes cutting wait times down to 1 year to 1 month and ensuring that the process is fair for both the landlords and the tenants. And we need to strengthen the appointment process by making it more apparent. We also need to ensure that we allow folks to be able to attend their LTB meetings in person as opposed to only virtually, which has been proven to be very detrimental to a lot of folks. And when we're talking about building more homes, the Green Parties, they have a plan for that too, and that's 250,000 homes across Ontario. That is 66,000 additional homes on top of the 250 to be built for supportive housing, and 22,000 homes built by Indigenous folks for Indigenous folks. So when we're talking about housing, the Greens have ideas, and I'm really glad that some of the other parties end up picking up our ideas.
Yeah, I think we can only agree on getting rid of the backlog with the landlord and tenant board. I'll share some stats. So minimum wage when Doug Ford got into power 7 years ago was $11.20. Now it's $17.20. It's about 50% increase. Rent for a small modest 2-bedroom apartment here in Hamilton has gone up from about $1,000 to over $2,000. That's a 100% increase. Life was tough on minimum wage back 7 years ago. Now it's just impossible. And that's why we're seeing disputes happening. There's just not enough housing to go around. People can't afford housing, so they cling to the housing that they have, and it creates disputes. We need to build houses, just like my friends here have been saying, and we have the plan to do it. We're going to reduce development charges on low-income and middle-income homes, so homes get built. Ford promised 1.5 million houses when he got into power. He's nowhere near. We'll beat him.
My liberal hopeful, he doesn't understand. The liberals had 15 years. 15 years of Kathleen Wynne government. They did not deliver for this province. What makes Bonnie different? What makes you different? Enough is enough. People lost faith in politics because of the provincial liberals. And what they found a home with the Ontario NDP. They believe in what we're going to do and what we're going to deliver.
Yeah.
And this is what the bold action plan of Ontario Home will deliver.
We saw it yesterday in the debate. We see it again
yeah,
here.
with the debate, we all could agree that Mayor Stiles is phenomenal.
Everyone who knows is that Bonnie Crombie is a new leader. We got a whole new slate of folks.
Yeah, she
running
had
for
the least amount of bills in
provincial
Mississauga
liberals.
and out of all municipalities.
And
that's
we
her record.
are going to
That's
get
her record
results
right
done.
now.
If
And
I
we-
could
we
just jump
expect
Let's
in.
get
deliver
Pascal
for
I
into
think
our
that
this.
province.
one of the-
Pascal would like to have a
Yep.
word in this.
I'm going to bring it back to what we were saying earlier about collaboration, and the two of you just raising your voices to speak louder than the other does not show great collaboration.
Yeah,
But if we
well-
can bring it back to housing, we already have housing, but one of the issues that we have in Hamilton is that a lot of the affordable housing is falling apart. I knocked on the door of a woman living at 2 Oriole Crescent, and her ceiling was made out of a tarp. It had been tarped up for 2 years. So what are the Greens going to do about it? Well, they're actually going to ensure that we can renew 305 community housing units in Ontario with new capital repair program. We're also going to ensure that nonprofit housing providers, like in Hamilton, we have Indwell, we have Victoria Park, we have the Kiwanis East Homes that is over here in East Hamilton, Stoney Creek, making sure that they have access to capital to actually purchase market rental buildings and turn them into affordable home. We want to restrict short-term rentals to principal residences, just like we've done here in Hamilton, which is working. And we also want to ensure that we have a rental replacement bylaw, because in Hamilton right now, for every additional affordable housing unit that we get, we lose about 31. And that's incredible. So we just need to make sure that we actually keep up what we have already, build new, and with those two things together, collaboratively, we can actually ensure we make a difference in our communities.
Yeah, that's the goal. And so I'm passionate about this because when I hear folks complaining out the doors, we need a change, and we need a change now. And this is why I want to speak up, because this MPP that we have currently in Hamilton East Stoney Creek is simply not doing the job. And we need it now. And this is why I'm very passionate on this. Affordability is a big issue that's impacting Hamilton East Stoney Creek, is impacting Hamilton, is impacting our province. And we need solutions. Less politics, more solutions.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
very
it-
much for that response, candidates. We are now going to move on to our next question from the media. From CBC, it's Sarah Piesker. Sarah.
Hi, candidates.
Hey.
I'll start with the Liberal candidate for my question, but I would love to hear what each of you have to say on it. The steel mills in Hamilton have been allowed to bypass air quality standards for years, while East End residents have complained about soot that was mentioned earlier, and citizens all around the city have been breathing carcinogens. What would you do about the exemptions?
I want to say, first and foremost, air quality in Hamilton is important to me. My 2 kids, 8 years old, 5 years old, they're growing up here. I don't want their lungs to be infected by the kind of soot that we see, especially around downtown here in Hamilton. And I want to say that the environment is very important to me. That's why I've been out on the stump over the past few years. You remember the Greenbelt scandal. I was out on the stump. I think I missed 1 rally. Healthy nature is very important to me. And a part of why I moved to Hamilton was the nature we have here and the chances to to live a healthy living. So it's very important to me, this topic of the environment. And I will say, even though the PCs have been dragging their feet on the environment here in our city, our federal friends, they have ensured that there has been money posted towards electric arc furnaces down at the steel mills, so we can still maintain our production here in the city, but do it in a clean way, where we maintain good paying union jobs here in the city, but also ensure that those union families can live in a city where they can breathe the air.
If I can take that question next, because I think that is definitely my forte, not just because I'm part of the Green Party, but because I've actually been working for Ward 4 for the last 2 years. And the environmental injustice that is happening in some parts of Hamilton is just simply unacceptable. There are people who are coming to our office showing us that their kids' hands were filthy black. There were dogs that were so blackened at their paws that they can't even walk inside their home without having to wipe their paws every day. 1 in 4 children in Hamilton suffer from asthma. That is completely unacceptable. We have some of the highest levels of leukemia and cancers. And what are those caused by? That's caused by poor air quality. In the lower city of Hamilton, we're actually, I didn't even know I had to learn how to pronounce these words, but we have trouble with benzene and benzoapyrene. And those create cancers, and they also have neurological effects on your body. So those things are coming from the industry. And one of the issues that we're having right now is that the ministry can't pinpoint exactly where these things are coming from. And it was through our office that we helped push, and actually me, to help push to make sure that ArcelorMittal Dofasco actually holds steady to their plans of actually decarbonizing, because that's going to be a 60% reduction in emissions in Hamilton. That is significant, significant. I have gone to every meeting at ArcelorMittal Dofasco, and in the last, I'd say, year, we've kept asking them, like, where are you on this project? Where are you on this project? Where are you on this project? And they keep telling us that they're committed, and they're committed. But committed is great, but you also need to have actual solutions and actual results. And if I could just add one more thing, it's just that, if I could just add one more thing, is that when I started pressing ArcelorMittal Dofasco about the soot, by magic, and it's amazing what political power can do, by magic, we actually had some of the record lowest levels of opacity coming from ArcelorMittal Dofasco that summer. Isn't that wild when governments actually care and actually do something about it? Now, the difference I offer is that there's 3 of them that have actually been trying to do and kick it at the bucket. Is that the expression? I offer real solutions. I'm a doer. I'm a carer, and I am your strategic vote for Hamilton East Stoney Creek based on my governing experience and the results that I have brought to this community.
And I think I raised my hand first. I just
Let's
want to say,
have Heino go
when it
first.
comes,
His
when
hand
it,
was
I
up
raised
first.
my
Well,
hand
Heino, go
first.
first, and then Zagim, you get the next
I
one
just
right
want to
away.
add a quick note that I think what you're doing, your work is great, Pascal. Thanks for that. And I just want to highlight that when it comes to the Liberals and being bold on climate actions, we're no strangers to it. You probably remember that it was under a Liberal government
That
here
there
in
was a gas
Ontario
plant
that
scandal?
we got rid of coal-fired plants, and that has done immense positive things for our air quality. So just wanted to highlight that.
I just want to add that, yes, the environment is very important. Me and I got married since the last time I ran, and we were thinking about having kids now. I want to make sure my kid is able to breathe the air. Families that are able to enjoy the parks. But right now, the steel industry is going through a lot with the 25% tariffs. We have to work with the unions, work with the employers to ensure that we protect them as well. And if in terms of the environment, hold them accountable. Make sure in terms of they're following the regulation. That's what I will add. And thank you so much.
I actually used to believe in the NDP strongly. And when it came to the environment, I was very strongly disillusioned when I saw how far the NDP would push for jobs over the environment, like they did in Alberta. They pushed to expand the oil sands to the point that entire communities and entire environments are completely destroyed just for the sake of ensuring that we make more profits. So while both of you are talking about what you want to do for environment, neither party, including the PC who are not here today, have actually shown us that they care and that they will do something about it.
I just want to add to thank you, Pascal. But I just want to add basically, right now the steel industry is going through a lot. You see the tariffs are coming in. We need to protect these unionized jobs. We need to protect their paychecks. There is an affordability crisis going on right now. We need to work with the union workers at the grassroots level. We need to work with the employers to see how we could protect these jobs, because right now, with the tariffs coming in, there's a lot of uncertainty, and we need to put a ringer right around them to make sure that we protect their jobs.
So
we
what would you
actually
do?
care
So
about
what would you
jobs
do
as
to
well,
protect
because
those
there's
jobs?
actually a $2 trillion global economy just for green energy and green projects. That is something that Hamilton can tap right into. Hamiltonians are creative, Hamiltonians are resilient, and Hamiltons have the ability to come up with these projects. Like, we even started working on some of these projects to try and bring some battery storage over by the steel ports. Like, we are working on some of these things here in Hamilton, but we also want to ensure that hundreds of thousands of new jobs can be created by retrofitting 40% of existing homes and workplaces so that they are net zero by 2035. Those are new jobs, those are clean jobs, and those will help both our environment and our future children.
To our panel, media panel, thank you very much for the first round of questions. And of course, to our candidates to this point, we do have a question that has come in from our viewers. We've been collecting questions from Cable 14 on X, I understand, and also by email at election@cable14.com. So we'll give all of our candidates, I should say here, a chance to respond to this particular question as you wish. Okay, we ready for it? This is going to be from Tom from Hamilton East, Stoney Creek, who says, since the HSR has served us well for 150 years and can be flexible to meet our needs, would it make more sense to cancel the LRT and put that money towards the true crisis of affordable housing? We will start with Pascal on this one.
I was going to jump on that question anyway, so thank you, Mike. You know, the LRT, my dad and I actually have a understanding in the house that we're not allowed to talk about the LRT because it gets really heated. So I've heard all the different opinions on the matter, and shout out to Papa. But the reason why we need the LRT is for infrastructure. So when you look at where the LRT is going to be, that means that Metrolinx, the province, and the federal are going to pay to make sure that we have new water mains, that we have new electrical, new sewers from McMaster University all the way to Eastgate Square. Can you imagine how much money that would cost us Hamiltonians out of our personal property taxes to be able to afford that? Just shaving and paving 850 meters between Kenilworth and Ottawa Street would cost us $1.5 million. So let's put that into perspective. So I do understand that there are some serious issues about what is happening with the LRT, how it's happening, but the reason that we do need the LRT is because our infrastructure is crumbling. And in the last government, they have simply not provided the municipalities with enough money to actually fix our roads, fix our water mains, and fix our sewers. And that's why we need the LRT. So as much as it's a tough pill to swallow, it's going to be good for everyone in the long run.
What I would like to see is affordable housing being built around the LRT in our transit corridor. That's what I would like to see, because we want to make sure that when we're planning urban planning designs, it's set up in a way that a person that's moving in a transit corridor, they could go from one point of the city to another point of the city. They could go to the grocery store. They could go to do recreational activities as well. So that's what I would like to see. If when this LRT is set up and it's built, I want to see affordable homes being built around the transit corridor. Thank you.
Yeah, just like Pascal, I've been discussing the LRT with constituents, and yeah, it does get heated because there's lots of opinions on it. My understanding, it's happening. LRT is coming. Many people, they're unhappy with the LRT because of the route. Unfortunately, it's coming. It is what it is. Two things I want to say. First and foremost, I think it's a great idea to build affordable housing around the LRT. That's kind of the whole point, to build around where we have great transit. And if I used to live in Toronto, and transit was like ages behind. This is our opportunity to actually get ahead of things when it comes to transit, so that in 30 years we can say, man, are we happy we got ahead of things.
If I can add, like Zygan was talking about building affordable housing near transit stations, and that is a fantastic idea because evidence shows that that is the way to do it. And so the Greens actually have a plan to use taxes and incentives to make sure that we actually start building affordable housing in and around transit stations, and making sure that we have a minimum housing density around transit stations so that we can ensure that as many people live as close as possible, which, like we mentioned, is so convenient because then you just walk out your door and pick up your bus or pick up the LRT.
Yeah, and the second thing I was going to mention, as I stated, many are unhappy about the route, and it's unfortunate that our current MPP has been missing in action to get feedback from residents. It's important to me, as we do more projects, that my door is open. I will listen to you and take your concerns seriously in future projects. And I also want to let you know that this LRT is not the end-all be-all. We need to do more in infrastructure. And I've been talking to residents all the way from Kenilworth to Winona, and there are local issues where we can play a role. For instance, over in Winona by 50 Point Road, folks that live down in that neighborhood, they can't get across the highway without a car. On those bridges across the highway, there is no bicycle paths, there's no sidewalk.
I used to have to cycle across the QEW to get to
Right,
work at Wild
right.
Waterworks, and
So-
that was insane. That is the only time in my 20 plus years of riding a bicycle that I ever got hit by a car, and it was trying to get to Wild Waterworks to get to work. Because yeah, there is absolutely no cycling infrastructure. So I think we all agree we need cycling infrastructure, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. There needs to be a way for folks to cross that highway that doesn't just include a car, because folks, they live on the one side and have jobs on the other side, and we need to make sure that folks aren't trapped on one side of the highway. We should be fully connected.
I'm being told, folks, we have to continue on. We do have another question. You'll get more time. Okay,
Okay,
Heino?
yeah,
Thank you very
yeah.
much. Thank you. Love all the enthusiasm here tonight. It's great. Our next question comes from Anne. She's out in Hamilton East Stoney Creek. She also asks, how are people on the Ontario Disability Support Program supposed to live on what they get? And Heino, I will bring it over to you, and then we'll be open forum afterwards.
Yeah, quite frankly, like the way that the progressive conservatives have it now, they're not living on ODSP. Right now, if you live on ODSP, if you have a disability and live on the ODSP, it's almost a one-way ticket either to homelessness or to a line up at a food bank. And that's just not okay in our Ontario. And that's why us Ontario Liberals will double ODSP, so that if you have a disability, you can have a decent life, you can have a roof over your head, and you actually have a base that is a base we would expect for an economy like Ontario.
We want to take 15 years back, 7 years back, when Kathleen Wynne, she had the opportunity of doing it. The Liberals had the opportunity. They failed the folks that were on ODSP. They've been living in legislative poverty for far too long. And this is what the Ontario NDP promises. They'll promise to double ODSP and tie it in with inflation. And because they need support. Think about it. If everyone's going through an affordability crisis, you're paying it at the tills, at the grocery stores. People on ODSP can't afford their groceries right now.
When we're talking about ODSP, we're talking ODSP, but a lot of people who are on ODSP are also on OW. And what I found was really telling in last night's debate is that the Liberals didn't have a plan for OW and increasing OW. They only focused on ODSP. So the Greens have a plan, which has fortunately been picked up by the NDP as well, and that's to double ODSP and OW, because right now, if you're on OW, you're making about $700. If you combine that with your ODSP, that's about maybe $1,300 max for a single person. When the average rent in Hamilton is between $1,500 to $1,600, the math just simply doesn't math. How do you feed yourself? How do you pay for your bills? So in addition to that, so we're going to start by actually doubling ODSP and OW, because that is purely legislative property, and I think we agree on that across the board. But once we're done that, then we also want to push it a little bit further and bring in basic income, which was actually a conservative idea back in the Mulrooney days, which is by Hugh Segal, who passed away within the last year. And then we also need to make sure that we remove any of the unnecessary red tape around applying for ODSP and OW, because big government is not going to solve the poverty crisis. And we need to make sure that we actually consult with the people who are living in these situations.
Yeah.
One thing I'll also add is what the Ontario NDP promises. Their promises a rebate. A rebate when you go shop at the grocery stores, families will get $120 back in their pockets. That's families that get money back in their pockets. Not Galen Weston, who this MPP, this premier of Doug Ford gave back Galen Weston's family. Billionaires, $200. We'll put money back into people's pockets who need it. And right now, people on ODSP need it. They need help with their groceries, and this is what the Ontario NDP will
So if
also
I could
do.
take it a
Yeah,
step
no, I
further,
think
is
it's
that
my
the green?
turn.
Okay,
I-
I'll let you go.
I
Rhino.
think it's my turn now, and I have so many comments that have come up because you've mentioned a lot of interesting things. But the thing I want to say, we came out and announced, and I know that the Greens announced its prior election double ODSP. When we came out and announced it, that's what it took for the NDP to come out and announce, oh, they're also for it, and by the way, they'll up us with something. And I think that's consistent with the NDP. Us Liberals, we put ideas forward, and ODP and the NDP, they come and say, oh, we'll do the same, and plus this over here. And quite frankly, that's not a serious way of doing politics.
Yeah, the
and
serious
it's not
way
healthy
is
on the
to
economy.
break
No, no,
promises
yeah,
over and over again. This is why they sit as independents.
Sorry,
This is why they
sorry,
gave, people
sorry,
gave
I was
up
not done. Can
on
I finish?
the Liberals.
Can I finish, my
and
friend?
they-
Can I finish?
Go for it. Go for it. Go
Okay,
For it. The
so the
people give up on
grocery
the
rebate,
Liberals.
that was brought up, economists, and I'm an economist myself, I'm trained as an economist, and I work in finance, so I don't work as an economist, but economists have come out and said that this grocery rebate will actually spike inflation and not be effective. It will not do what the NDP is hoping it will do. Now, when it comes to affording groceries, we want to put money back into taxpayers' dollars because we want to cut taxes. We want to cut income taxes, and we want to cut taxes on home heating and hydro. This will save middle-income families to the tune of $1,000 a year. Now, this is real savings they can put in their pocket and take to the grocery store. And some people have come up to me and ask, oh, tax cuts, that's great, but how are we going to pay for that? And I think we've seen a lot of waste from the PCs over the years. $2 billion to move up a boost contract by 1 year. Now, looking forward, we also have this $150 billion fantasy tunnel they're spend taxpayer dollars on. We're not going to waste taxpayer dollars on.
It was the Liberals that sold off
and-
Hydro One.
and-
We are paying more on Hydro because of the Liberals. And remember, this is why they lost government. Scandal after scandal. They're no different from the PCs.
So we are
And
very,
right now,
we're
this
a
is why
very
people
young
vote-
panel, and I love having such a young panel. But for such a young panel, my friend from the NDP, he's certainly stuck in the past. We have a new slate of candidate. We have a new leader. This is my first election. And you're stuck in
No, I'm not stuck
something
in the
that
past 'cause
happened
what we see
15,
with, what we
20
see with
years
Bonnie,
ago.
she only increased property taxes every year.
Are you able to
Every
look
year.
forward?
Every year in
we're about
Mississauga.
to-
In Mississauga, they lost. People moved out because it was getting unaffordable. It was one of the only municipalities that lost people, that lowered in population because of her increasing taxes year after year. And listen, year after year, her promises from the Liberals and didn't deliver. And this time will be no different. We know that, and we know you have a clear option at home to vote for the Ontario NDP, who will deliver.
It's kind
on
of
their
rich coming
promises.
from the NDP, given we have an NDP mayor that keeps raising taxes
Final
year after
final
year
word,
after
final
year
word,
after
will
Thank
be,
year.
you.
final word will be going to Pascal
Thank
on
you.
this particular topic.
What I find is really interesting in this conversation is that in Ontario, we keep trying the same thing over and over again. And I'm really sorry, but the way you are arguing really goes to show me that there is no collaboration. And what I'm also disappointed in that I'm not hearing are actual solutions, new ideas. We're just rehashing the past. And
It's
so
the
if I
tax
could add
cuts,
to
right?
that,
I was focused
we
on
want
the
to ensure
future.
that to improve affordability
Yep.
for Ontarians, that we cut taxes for low and middle income Ontarians that earn less than $65,000, and for households that earn less than $105,000. We want to make sure that the employer health tax exemption is up to $1.5 million, so that small businesses can actually afford staff. We want to bring in an anti-gouging law to make sure that corporations, grocery corporations, are not profiting off of us while we can't put food on our table because they're upping their prices to a point that is just simply unaffordable.
Pascal, and to the rest of our candidates, thank you very much for that portion. And thank you, of course, everyone who submitted the questions. And again, we are doing our best to get as many questions in with the time that is allotted, so we're doing what we can, folks. This is going to wrap up round one of our question and answer period for this particular debate. Before we continue with more questions from our media panel, any candidate not invited to participate in our debate tonight had the opportunity to record a statement. Let's hear now from 3 Hamilton East Stoney Creek candidates who recorded a statement. Heather Curnew, Visala Durlachtka, and Drew Garvey.
Hi, my name is Heather Curnew, and I am your candidate for the Hamilton East and Stoney Creek area for the Ontario Party. And I'm here to tell you that there's hope for our province when you vote for the Ontario Party. And you know, despite the fact that this was a snap election with no warning, and nobody but the PCs believing that this should happen and was warranted, we still have 40 enthusiastic candidates running across Ontario for you, the Ontario people. Yeah, it's time. It's time to take Ontario back. No corruption tolerated, no gaslighting, or ignoring the fact that we're in a crisis. No more government overreach. My first point is to establish Ontario's Sovereignty Act. That is Derek Sloan, our leader's very words, to ensure that our province and its residents have the rights and needs very unique to our province, and they are being met. His second point is that the Ontario Party will have your back. We will reject harmful policies. We will ensure provincial jurisdiction, that is provincial jurisdiction, over health care, taxation, immigration, and energy. If you're familiar with C.W. Lewis, well, he said, there are far better things ahead. So we leave behind those things that we leave behind. So I'm actually going to read off our website. I want to encourage you to visit our website at www.ontarioparty.ca so you can see for yourself. We stand for private property rights, family values, freedom of speech, freedom of faith, and we oppose radical gender ideology, World Economic Forum, digital ID slavery, mass migration, and central government ID. Now, you search your heart. I know there's a lot of you out there, you're so discouraged and you don't even want to vote. But let me tell you, this is the time to stand up and have your voice heard. Search your heart, search your wallet, and choose 3 things that drive you crazy. And then go to our website and find out for yourself that you need to vote for the Ontario Party. A great ancient fellow, a great man named Solomon, wrote a book called Proverbs. This is what he said: let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. So vote for the Ontario Party. Let us run together in peace, not polarization, not fear, but in peace. We have your back. We're going to run together and we're going to experience joy once again, economic joy for our province. And we're going to get the hard things done and turned around for you. And we're all going to stand in a place of righteousness that's defined by the Charter of Rights and not opinion. So remember this: united we stand, divided we fall. Vote for the Ontario Party.
My name is Wisława Derlatka. I represent New Blue Party of Ontario for the East Hamilton, Stoney Creek. I'm a retired therapist. I emigrated to Canada from Poland 35 years ago. And throughout my career, I have dedicated the majority of my life to working in a hospital setting when I had the privilege of serving and supporting some of the most vulnerable individuals in society. I take immense pride in placing people at the center of everything I do. As a strong advocate for those without a voice, I committed to promote empathy, honesty, and ethical practice in all aspects of my work. I lead with compassion and unvarying integrity, always standing firm against unlawful and unethical practices. Persistence drives my efforts to take a meaningful difference in the lives of others. In addition to my contribution within the hospital, I remain deeply committed to my community. Recently, I organized non-profit charity event with 100% of the proceeds going toward providing therapeutic treatment for individuals with various disabilities. As a busy woman, mother, and grandmother, I am driven by a relentless pursuit of truth and accountability. I strive to ensure that those in need are supported, and I work tirelessly to create positive change wherever I can. So my platform is to engage and empower the young people so they are more involved in politics to shape their future. I'm committed to increase the efficiency in education system so children can learn to think critically, to employ logic and science in their life. So on 27, please vote for me. I'm the doer, and I done the task correctly. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Drew Garvey and I'm the candidate for the Communist Party in Hamilton East, Stoney Creek. While big developers, corporate landlords, and grocery monopolies rake in record profits, working people are left struggling with skyrocketing rents, suppressed wages, and gutted public services. We must fight back and demand a people's alternative at Queen's Park. Policies that serve working people, not corporate profits. We need to raise the minimum wage to $25 an hour and enact price controls on food and essentials. We need to build 200,000 publicly owned social housing units and expand rent controls to lower rent to 20% of income. We need to expand universal public health care to include long-term care, mental health care, pharmacare, dental care, and eye care. We need to transition to publicly owned green energy and guarantee jobs for workers in fossil fuel sectors. We need to bring key industries affected by tariffs under public ownership. That includes the steel industry. We need to diversify trade and exit the USMCA and NATO. The ruling class props up ultra-right politicians to divide us, attack our rights, and protect their power. Meanwhile, military spending is being doubled, and vital resources are diverted from healthcare and housing. This is fueling genocide in Palestine and edging us closer to global war. Ford's conservatives must be defeated, but replacing them with the Liberals, the NDP, or the Greens won't necessarily stop the corporate agenda. Before and after the election, we must fight for a people's alternative. We need to move beyond choosing managers of capitalism every few years. Voting communist sends a clear message that Ontarians demand transformative change. It's time to put working people in control of their future. Help build the movement for socialism. For over 100 years, the Communist Party has organized and fought for working people. You can learn more at communistpartyontario.ca. Vote communist to put people and the planet before profit.
Well, one more time, a thank you to Heather Kernew, Visla Durkala, and Drew Garvey for recording those statements. We greatly appreciate it. And for our viewers at home, if you miss any part of this broadcast or want to see candidates from the other Hamilton area ridings, which I strongly suggest you do, you'll find all of our debates on demand at cable14.com. Free for public viewing and sharing, all courtesy of our friends at Cogeco and Rogers as of 12 a.m. on Saturday, February the 22nd. All right, Hamilton, you ready? Let's move on to round two for tonight's media questions. Once again, from the Hamilton Spectator, you know him, John Wells is here. John.
Thanks again, Mike. I direct this question to Pascal, to go from the other side here. The Conservative government has spoken at least of widening the QEW from St. Catharines to Burlington to deal with traffic congestion on that highway, certainly impacting east Stoney Creek and so on. Where do you stand on that, and whether you're for or against, and why?
All right, well, first I'd like to say thank you. And you were actually my journalism prof at TMU like 20 years ago. Investigative journalism. So thank you for teaching me all that I needed to learn to research stuff and know my things.
Vote for Pascal.
You heard it here first from Spectator.
I'm sorry.
So, yes, so widening the QEW. I remember when I used to work at Toronto Pearson Airport, I used to have to drive from Hamilton to the airport, and now, like in my last years there, I was finally able to take the the GO Transit to get there, which was so much faster and so much more efficient. I remember when we enlarged the QEW, and what happened? A couple of years later, still gridlock. It's called induced demand. So we can widen and widen and widen as much as we want, but that just means that more and more and more people will choose to drive. The actual solution is actually to invest in transit to make sure that we have different modes of transportation to get us from point A to point B. And in Hamilton, one of the things that we really, really need is to have more interregional transit. So to get from Hamilton to Guelph and to actually have a stop at Puslinch on the way to Guelph, because there is none. So if you want to get from Hamilton to see your friends in Guelph, finally we have a bus. We also need to ensure that we invest in different modes of transportation, electric vehicles, making sure that we have sidewalks so we can walk on, cycling so we can get to places, but widening never works.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, please continue on. Segum?
Thank you, Mike. I used to actually take the bus. I went to Brock University, for folks that do not know. I used to take the bus from Hamilton all the way to St. Catharines, and the system was not there. We need to invest, as Pascal said, in public transit. And one thing I'll ask for this MPP, who's not here today, when is the GO Centennial is going to be ready for folks to attend and take public transit from? Because enough is enough, and we need folks, and we need that GO Centennial ready. And of course, what we need to do is invest in more public transit, and we need to get all day GO going there as well. So let's do this together. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we agree that one of the solutions here is not to build wider and wider highways and tunnels under existing highways and all sorts of other crazy stuff.
413.
One of the main keys to actually solving the issues we have with infrastructure here is to make sure that we invest in public transit, and we're going to expand the GO train network and expand service to the existing stations that we have across the network. So I think we're pretty much in line there, and of course in the GO station down on Centennial, we didn't need it now, like, because people, they've been planning their lives around it. People, they live near there, work in Toronto, and they've been planning their lives around being able to take the GO train to Toronto or anywhere along the Golden Horseshoe. Just like myself, I work in Toronto 3 days a week, and hopefully soon as your MPP, I'll be working there even more. And I rely on GO Transit. I know what a difference that makes in people's life, that you're able to take public transit and not get stuck in your car behind other drivers and not being very productive. GO Transit is just the way to go. We want to expand it, and I'm just happy to hear we all agree here.
Thank you very much for that, Heino. We will continue on now with our media questions, if that is okay. Coming back from CHCH, it's Eric Vianu. Eric.
Thank you. So I'll first direct this question at the NDP candidate, but you have all been talking about affordability crisis and the housing crisis, and we've seen some folks are forced to live in tents in parks and in all places throughout the city, and we've heard from people in the riding who have concerns about these encampments. How would you address those concerns?
Thank you so much for the question. It's very simple. Let's get back into building homes. We have one of the lowest starts across this country, and it's an absolute shame what Doug Ford has been doing. The Ontario NDP, as I said before, is promising to build 1.5 million homes in the next 10 years. 300 of those will be off-market homes, that's co-ops, that's multi-purpose residentials. And also I want to include that there'll be 60,000 supportive homes that will have a wraparound service of addiction and mental health support. So this is what we need to do.
If I could take that,
Sure.
one of the important things is that we have been talking about affordability. We've been talking about affordable housing, but we also need to talk about the ability of folks to be able to purchase a home once they do get to that point. I know lots of 30-year-olds who can't purchase a home, and there's almost no way that they will. So what we plan to do is to actually build 2 million homes of different types, of different sizes, and of different versions. So for example, we could have condos, we could have multiplexes, we could have townhouses, we could have homes, but building it within the urban boundaries of Hamilton, because we do want to protect our green belt. We also make sure that we offer a zero interest loan at $25,000 for homeowners to add affordable rental units on their properties. And we also want to make faster, lower cost, and labor efficient construction so that we could build more faster.
Yeah, and can I get a
course
chance
you can.
to address as well? And I think for sure one of the root causes is not enough housing. With the Ontario Liberals, will also make sure that we get a good chunk of new supportive housing. So not only do our friends that now live in encampments get a roof over their head, they also get the supports that they need to actually rebuild a life again. That's very important. But I also want to say, like 7 years ago, when Doug Ford got into power, we had a handful, maybe 1, 2 encampments. Now we have encampments across the entire city. We have almost 2,000 people in encampments, and it's just not good enough, because the solution lies in housing, and it lies with our healthcare system, and that's a provincial responsibility that Doug Ford has just been putting to the side. And when he was asked during the leadership debate, I don't know if you remember, he answered proudly that he's been creating 40,000 new prison cells in the province. That's way more new prison cells than he has built housing right here in Hamilton. It's just not good enough. So we're going to build supportive housing and thereby address some of the underlying root causes. And I also want to say the PCs have cut support for mental health. Mental health care is health care, and we want to make sure that mental health care get funded again.
You know what's also really good is actually reinstating rent controls and also capping AGIs, which are ways that your landlord can actually just increase their rent however they want. I actually spoke with a man who had his rent go from $1,000 to $1,500 within 2 years because his rent got increased $250 twice over. Because with AGIs right now, they just go right through the LTB board if they even make an application. So we need to do that, and we also need to reinstate rent controls. I can't say it enough. We need to reinstate rent controls, and when there are vacancies, the landlords can also increase the rent as much as they want afterwards. So putting in a little bit of regulations around that to ensure that we don't actually get rid of all of our affordable housing stack.
Yeah,
I'm glad this liberal hopeful is talking about building homes, because his leader in Mississauga did not deliver on that. She has a track record of not building in Mississauga. So I'm not sure if we've seen it done before. The Liberals promise one thing and do another, and they're going to do the exact same thing. Her track record speaks for herself.
It's interesting to hear what your mayor here in NDP mayor here in Hamilton has done, and then we can compare notes. And also,
I think yours was also a former mayor.
And Bonnie Crombie, I believe she set up a lot of the building that's happening now. So Doug Ford liked to give Parrish the thumbs up for all that she's achieved on housing, but it would never have had happened if Bonnie Crombie didn't set her up for success, quite frankly. And I also want to say,
took her 12 years.
we
How long
talk a
was
lot
she the
about
mayor for?
housing here today, and as you can hear, that's the root cause of a lot of the issues that's going on here in Hamilton. I think yesterday there was a viewer questions, and it's excellent with these viewer questions. I thoroughly enjoy them, that asked about sexual violence. And again, there's an issue that's in some part housing related, because there are so many women out there trapped in relationships that they can't get out of because they can't afford a house to
Do you
go
know
to.
where those women are? A lot of those women are in rural communities. And one thing that I found very telling in the conversations that we've been having all day is that no one's talked about our rural communities. But a lot of those women that are stuck in those violent situations, they live out in the boonies and they have nowhere to turn and nowhere to go. 60% of the land in Hamilton is actually is rural, and 40% of our population lives in the rural communities.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, like, let's talk about where they are. They have no way of getting out. They have no access to transit. But what I have done and what we have done in our ward office is to actually connect local community organizations to the city and to other local community organizations so that we could actually all work collaboratively. And we actually came up with a beautiful program that women can actually call in and get a temporary housing so that they can get set up and get ready to go so they can leave their dangerous situations.
This government has turned a blind eye. When the Ontario NDP called for legislation on IPV, they said no. Women are desperate for some support. Shelters can't keep up with the demand. We need transitional homes, and we need the critical service wrapped around to ensure they feel safe for their mental health support and physical health as well.
Thank you for that. Great discussion, candidates. Thank you. We will continue on now with our final media question from the CBC. We're going to bring her back up here.
All right.
Sarah Piesker. Sarah, all yours.
Hi again. I'll start with the NDP candidate for this question, but again, I would love to hear from everyone. The PC candidate, who is not here tonight, is also this riding's MPP. What feedback would you give him for his last term in office?
I'm going first. What I will give him, what the community will give him, what Hamilton East Stoney Creek will give him is a great F. Because he did not deliver for Hamilton East Stoney Creek. You talk to any constituent in any neighborhood, he simply doesn't pick up the calls. And this is what I'm going to change. I'm going to bring back a strong voice in Hamilton East Stoney Creek. I'm a strong union leader in Hamilton. Folks know me. I deliver for my members. And just like I deliver for my members in my union, I will deliver for Hamilton East Stoney Creek in Queen's Park. And I promise that on February 27th.
You know what's actually really interesting about Neil Lumsden's office is that they have managed to delegate a lot of their work to other ridings. They have delegated to Hamilton Centre to deal with their issues, even though Hamilton Centre was silenced by their own party. They've also delegated to our office, where I had to deal with it, because they wouldn't pick up the calls, they wouldn't help, and that's just not right. That it's a whole other level of downloading, right? Like, they've already downloaded when it comes to financial things that they should have been paying for. That's why our property taxes are increasing so much, is because we have all these programs that are legislated by the province that we have to do, but then they don't give us the money for it. It absolutely makes no sense. So for him to download his work onto our other offices, that's just salt on the wound. I don't know, like, Neil Lumsden, like, he may have been a really good football player, but he certainly dropped the ball in Hamilton East Stoney Creek.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's my turn. You've had a turn each. I think it's my turn. I think it's my turn now. And I think we're hearing the same at the doors. And what to reiterate here, that has been going on for 3 years, right? People need help from his office, and people are left in desperation. That's what I hear out in the doors, that they're simply not getting back to him. And the few that have heard back from him, they're hearing back last week, this week, because they're in election. So my ask would be, because that's your question, what would we ask of Neil Lumsden? Show up in between elections.
To each of you, thank you very much. Looks like some people are deep in thought. Great conversation. We do appreciate it. That's it for our questions from our media and from our viewers. Again, thank you to our media panel, John Wells, Eric Vieno, and Sarah Piesker, for joining us here at tonight's debate. It's now time for the open forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute, to raise a topic or question and ask another candidate to answer that particular question. The candidate who has asked the question will have 1 minute to respond without interruption. After that, anyone can jump in on that particular topic that was raised and keep the conversation going. We'll be keeping a very close eye on the time to ensure that each candidate will have an equal opportunity to ask their question. And just before tonight's broadcast, Cable 14 randomly drew numbers to determine the order the candidates will ask questions. First up, from the Green Party, Pascal Marchand. You get to pick who you get to ask your question to.
Thanks, Mike. I'm actually going to direct it to all of you because I really sincerely want to hear the answer from all of you.
And that's fine. Could we just have one answer
One?
first?
Zygum's to my right.
Zygum first,
That's my
followed
right.
by
Yes,
Heino.
okay.
Thank you.
So the provincial government has a legal and moral obligation to consult and work with Indigenous communities with full partnership, participation, and with respect. How do you intend to intentionally and purposely consult and work with local Indigenous communities?
Thank you for the question, Pascal. First and foremost, we have to speak with the elders in the community. They come with wisdom. They come with what is needed at a grassroots level. We need to give them the support that they need. And we could read anything in any book will not give us the wisdom that these elders have. So we need to approach them, have a conversation, and start an advisory group. And we need to go make sure we deliver for them, because we let this provincial government, this PC provincial government, this Liberal, before them, they let them down. And we need to start working with them and for them.
Heino?
I think it's a great question, and it's an important question. I've been showing up at the powwows across Hamilton, East Stoney Creek, here in the city, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, the day to commemorate that. I show up.
I didn't see you there.
Oh, I was there. I spoke with your partner at the event in the circle.
Take
So I
your
was
word
there.
for it, but
I was there.
there.
Just ask your partner. I was
saw
there.
you there.
Yeah,
I was
I saw
there.
you. Yeah.
So I show up and I have conversations to make sure that every time I go, I learn something new. For instance, I was at the powwow down by Battlefield Park, and I spoke to an elder to say, okay, like many Canadians, I'm an immigrant. Many folks across our community in Hamilton, East Stoney Creek, they were born in Poland, Croatia, Pakistan, India, all across the world. And me as an immigrant as well here, I see it as my obligation to learn about the Indigenous people and what they've been through over the years. So I asked, what can I do to learn more? And this elder told me, read the book called Southern Ojibwe, The Ojibwe of Southern Ontario. And I read that, and I've learned so much, and I keep asking, what book can I read to learn more, to understand where you're coming from and your history? So I'll keep adding to that reading list. And when I've been at the doors and met folks who say, I'm Ojibwe, I ask them the same question. So I've added
Do
to
they
my...
say I'm Ojibwe, or do they
No,
say like I am
so with this one,
Anishinaabe, or I am
with this
Mississauga,
specific...
Haudenosaunee? There's lots of other nations.
I'll
so
tell you
Ojibwe's
how
kind
the
of outdated.
conversation went for it, because this is a very specific conversation I had with a gentleman where I said, I read the book, The Ojibwe of Southern Ontario. He then said to me, I'm Ojibwe.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the wording that came up. I know the rich history and the different groups that there are there, but that was the actual conversation that I had at the door.
I
It's a
think at this
painful
point we're
history.
just running around in circles trying to answer the question.
No, but so
one
what
of
I
the
want-
things
yeah.
that I am hearing here is that you show up to the big events, but what about the small events? What about going to socials? What about just sitting around at HRIC and just having a cup of coffee? What about just having low-key conversations with folks
Yep.
and not needing the photo op?
No, it's not about the photo op.
But you
and-
have so many selfies that I know.
I do
You
have-
have been
okay.
taking selfies for like the last 4 years. Please
Okay.
account.
Let's
Okay,
bring it-
okay.
let's bring
I
it
think
back.
I think I should give some context. Should I give some
Let's
context?
bring it back,
Should I
please.
give some
Heino,
context?
please.
Okay,
Let's
that's
bring
fair.
let,
That's
let's
fair.
bring
Yeah.
it back, please, to the original question.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you may finish.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say, I'm all open ears, and I'm going to listen to you, and I want to be an ally. I don't have the lived experience. I recognize that, and my door is open. And I just want to say for the selfies, so I'm very active on social media. I have a very long timeline in Instagram where you see I go to all the events. And it's not about showing me at the events. It's about to also promote community. I'm big on community. I'm very proud of the community we have here in Hamilton. And people,
You know what? I'm
people
gonna
tell
stop
me,
him right there
people
because
tell
you
me,
know what?
no.
No,
People
you
tell
got
me,
into
wow,
the
I
idea.
didn't know we
Okay,
had
thank
this
you.
much going
Yeah.
on in our city. People tell me, wow, I didn't know we have this much going on in our city. And I say, there is.
People
Look,
see it for
there's
what it
so
is. When
much
you come for a
happening
photo
here.
op, people see
and,
it.
And that's, yeah.
So what I was
Final
gonna
word
say-
to Pascal
Yeah,
before we
so
have to move on.
basically-
Pascal.
If we can bring it back to Indigenous folks just for a minute, it's
Yeah,
so
no,
important.
you brought up my selfies.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just,
true.
you did.
But
so I had to answer.
I think it's really important, and some of the words and the language that has not been used in this conversation yet is colonialism, residential schools. You haven't used those words, and those words, when you're actually in the community, they come up like that. Because those are conversations that you actually talk about every day.
Folks, we are now going, unfortunately, we have to move on. I know this topic touched a lot of buttons, but we do have to continue on. So our next question will be coming from Heino Dosing. Heino, yes, I'm just looking at the prompts here. Heino, your question
No, I
and
think
who
it's
you will.
Saigon first. We were going this way.
No, that was for the start.
That was for the start.
Oh,
This is
okay.
why we
Are
drew
you sure?
numbers. You're
I
getting
don't
me
wanna skip
confused now.
Saigon. I wanna
Heino,
give him his
you
due.
just sit there, be the candidate.
Oh,
I'll
okay,
do my
okay,
thing.
okay, okay.
Heino, I'm kidding. I'm having fun with you. We will go to Zagam, and then
Okay.
we will go to you.
I can go
Zagam,
if you like.
you have a question. Please let us know who you're going to ask it to, and then the rest of the group will get to ask it.
Thank you so much, Mike.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for your patience. This question is for Neil Lumsden, sitting at home. I do have a question for this incumbent, who is not here today. I would like to ask this question and hope that he's tuning in at home. After years of liberal cuts and not investing in hospitals and healthcare workers, the Ford government continues the trend of taking nurses to court when they want to be helping patients. Hallway healthcare is which the liberals pioneered. My question is, why is that the NDP is the only party that is actually interested in investing in the future of Ontario and our public healthcare system?
So I know that was directed to Mr. Lumsden. Can you direct that to one of our candidates
No,
on,
I think he
on the
mentioned
stage,
me.
though?
I think it was
I'll
actually
give Pascal-
directed at
Pascal,
me,
you can go
right?
first.
Because he said,
I
our
did-
liberal candidate, stuck in the
I
past.
saw Pascal's hand up first,
I'm happy
followed
for
by
Pascal,
you,
but
Heino.
it wasn't in a slight comment on me there.
You know, I honestly thought of pulling the same shtick tonight, but I thought it'd be important to ask my question. But
No, language.
oh, I said shtick.
Okay.
But I'm also admitting that I almost thought of doing the same thing. One of the things that we need to do is we need to invest in more personal support workers. We also need to ensure that we have healthcare for all so that it's available where you need it and when you need it, because rural communities do not have access to equitable healthcare. We need to put people over healthcare profits. And one of the things that we haven't really talked about today, which is kind of the elephant in the room, is the trade war that is looming. And the Greens actually have a plan to tackle this, because the Greens actually do care a lot about small businesses. And so they have a plan to invest in Buy Ontario strategy, also create a investment tax credit so we can actually start investing in our businesses in Ontario, and also move to aggressively diversify our economy so that we're not solely relying on the USA, and also breaking down some of the barriers that we have across the board with the province. I can't, when I go to Quebec to visit family, I don't bring a bottle of wine across the border because that is illegal. So we need to break down some of those barriers so that we can be one true Canadian Canada within the beautiful flower that we are as a country.
Heino, all yours, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a drinking game today, and someone out there is taking a drink every time my friend from the NDP brings up the past, oh my God, I'm sorry. You'll be having a good time tonight. You're living in the past now. No, you bring up the Wynne government or earlier governments, and you brought up hallway medicine right now. Again, living in the past. I just want to say, under the Liberal
Living
government,
in the
wait time.
past.
Oh yeah, you are. So under the
That's
Liberal
the
government, since
reality
we're
in our
talking about,
hospitals right
can
now,
I
I
answer? Can I answer? You brought up the past. I'm just answering your
on.
question. Am I allowed to answer it? Am I allowed to answer it?
Yes, continue on, Heino.
Thank you, Mr. Fortune. So under the Liberal government, wait times fell from the longest in Canada at the time to the shortest here in Ontario. Under the Liberal government, we gained 2.1 million new family doctors, and under the Liberal government, we built 23 new hospitals and built extensions to more than 100 hospitals. We deliver on healthcare. It's important to us as Liberals, and it's important to me as a guy who grew up in a union home and had a family that relied on that public healthcare when we needed it. So, yeah, you can trust us on building a strong healthcare system. And since we're comparing notes about the future,
are you gonna say public
last
or no?
time the NDP
Last
had
time, are
a
you gonna say
premier.
public or
What
no?
did no?
Are you gonna say public or no? Or are you still taking donation for private lobbyists, right? You're still taking those, right? Are you going to say public or no? Can we talk about that?
So I'm the candidate for Hamilton.
Are you
East
going to
Stoney
denounce that?
Creek.
Can you denounce that right now? Look
And
at my
sure,
portion right now
we
and
have
denounce
raised
that.
millions of dollars as a party across Ontario. $25,000 came from folks who liked our public health care. Probably, I don't know the numbers. I'm the local candidate, for crying out loud. But do you think influence can be bought for $25,000? Is that what your party is worth?
We
It's
do have to
not
continue
found
to
in
move on
reality.
from this particular
Yeah.
question. We'll let you grab your sip of water there because you are fortunate enough to ask the final question.
Yeah.
We'd like you to direct it who you would like to answer first, and then it will be open forum for our last question. So please, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so that's good. Pascal called it a stick. I just say great minds think alike, because I thought about pulling the same stick, quite frankly, and asking a question of Neil Lumsden, who's missing here today, just like he's been missing in our community ever since he got elected 3 years ago. But since our friend Neil is not here, I have to ask a question for SciChem. So NDP has been the official opposition over the past 7 years. The NDP has had 3 of the 5 Hamilton MPPs over the past 7 years. So with that kind of strong mandate from Hamiltonians, what have the NDP achieved over the past 7 years for Hamiltonians?
Thank you so much. You know what we had? We had bad governments when the Liberals were there. We have even worse government.
Again, with the history lesson, what have you done?
We have even a worse government with the PCs. When we go back on health, let's go a little bit back on healthcare. Our healthcare system is under attack under Doug Ford. It was the Liberals who pioneered health.
I'm asking what the
hallway
NDP
medicine.
has done.
Conservatives made it worse. To expect these two to fix our healthcare is expecting an arsonist to put out a fire. It's an absolute disgrace what they have done. We're dead last in funding. This is why QP 700, they know I'll stand up for healthcare workers. They know I'll stand. We will invest in our healthcare system. We will respect our nurses, and we will hire family doctors. Every Ontarian deserves a family doctor because that helps with people going through mental health care.
Hamiltonians have entrusted you with their vote
waiting time in the hospitals.
What have you done for them? You're telling
I
us
wasn't in
what
caucus.
liberals
I wasn't in caucus.
Tell me,
I was
what
not in
3
caucus. But what I will promise is I'm gonna bring a strong voice.
Gentlemen,
I'm gonna bring
we
a
need
strong voice. You have my word on that.
Such a strong voice. Can't even say what his party have achieved for 7 years. You have a strong mandate for past 7 years. What has
people
your
who know
party
in
done?
Hamilton East, Stoney Creek, they'll have a strong voice returning back in Queen's Park. The election's on February 27th, and I look forward to their support. And let's bring this riding back orange. We'll do this together.
You know
Thank
what?
you so much.
I couldn't find an answer to what the NDP has done for Hamilton in the past 7 years either. I tried to Google. I couldn't find it.
We weren't in government.
And you know what? No,
We
you
were-
were official
it was-
opposition.
it was Mayor Stiles.
And,
When
you
you
know,
talk
we now
about
have
what
to
I want to
move
say,
on.
I Googled it.
We
I
now have to
couldn't
move on to
find-
the closing
I couldn't
statements.
Find anything, so I ChatGPT'd it. Do you want the ChatGPT answer to what the NDP has achieved for Hamiltonians over the past 3 years?
Were we in government?
No, you were
Were we
official
in
opposition.
government?
You
What
had
we were in
3
government-
seats.
What we have a track record of terrible liberal government.
So
and
you're
even
telling
worse
me that
conservative
you're
government.
an inefficient opposition? I tell you,
Inefficient.
if we become in
Inefficient.
as
Who?
opposition after this, we will be a strong voice and get real
the
change.
Greenbelt
I
scandal
promise
he
it.
was talking about. It was the Ontario NDP who pushed for it. It was Mayor Stiles who pushed for it. Held this government accountable. There's an RCMP investigation going on in this government because Mayor Stiles pushed for that. We need transparency. We need integrity back in our government. And this is what the Ontario NDP promises.
So yeah,
and transparency.
ChatGPT said that the Ontario NDP has been good at pushing
I
for
guess
the
we
green
got
belt.
ChatGPT politicians now. Come on.
So that's right. That's he knew one example of what the ONDP has done for Hamilton, and pushing on the green belts scandal is a good one. Sandy Shaw was strong on that. I give you that. I was out at all the rallies rallies. I was there, right there, with
I was there
all
too.
the protesters. So the two other things that the NDP has achieved for Hamilton that ChatGPT came up with, they got the mayor of Hamilton. That's one. We all know that. That's fine.
I know.
It's just a fact.
Unfortunately, we
But
don't
the
have
second
time.
thing
We
is,
don't have time for two more
Yeah.
things. We do
Oh,
have to move
okay,
on to the
okay.
closing statements from
Okay,
our
okay,
Hamilton East
fair enough.
Stoney Creek candidates. Thank you all for that very rousing discussion and
Yeah, yeah.
debate. It's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
We're now going to be going in the opposite order from how we opened this debate. Remember, 1 minute per candidate, starting with Pascal Marchand of the Green Party.
I got the first word of the last word. Thank
There
you.
go. Hey, I like that, eh?
So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have been able to present all of my new ideas and the Greens' new ideas to the table for Hamilton East Stoney Creek. We've heard the other parties talk back and forth about their history. We've heard them complain. But Liberal complacency leads to Tory majorities. And the MDPs have been dealing with so much party politics these days that it's just, it confuses me at this point what's going on. We need to have real solutions and a real change. And based on my experience in local government and recent experience in local government, I'm the strategic vote to work here in East Hamilton, Stoney Creek. And if I could please add that it's important for you to get involved in politics. So please visit pascle.gpo to learn more about what I've done in the community and getting involved.
Pascal, thank you very much for that. We will now move on to Zagan Butt from the New Democratic Party.
Thank you for everyone watching and being here tonight. I want to ask you, has your life improved in the last 7 years? Doug Ford has let us down with bad deals, scandals, broken promises, working for the wealthy and not the everyday Ontarian. Neil Lumsden attacks on workers with Bill 28. His neglect on seniors, our public healthcare system, our public education system have not gone unnoticed. Ontarians have stood up when leaders fail them, and we will do it again. Hamilton East Stoney Creek is ready for new leadership, one that will fight for workers, tackle the rising costs, invest in public healthcare, and respect our seniors. Let's do this together. Let's bring a strong, trusted voice back to Queen's Park. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for your support.
Zagam, thank you very much for that. Final word goes to Heino Dosing of the Liberal Party. All yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fortune, and thank you to my fellow panelists. It's been a pleasure, and it's been heated, and it's been everything debate has to be. So thank you very much. When we look at the past 7 years, rents have increased to all-time highs. We used to have a family doctor when we lived here in Ontario. Now Hamilton has 70,000 people missing a family doctor. ER wait times, 18 hours, did not used to be the case. Homeless encampments, there used to be one or two. Now they're everywhere. And you just go down the list, and this is Doug Ford's Ontario. It's getting worse. And now he wants a strong mandate for more of the same. I mean, come on, it's time for a change election. It's time for Ontario Liberals to step into power again, because we'll take care of the economy, public health care, education, and affordability. Thank you very much.
I just want to add happy birthday to Pascal.
And I think we can all wish Pascal a happy birthday.
Do we
Happy
get to
birthday,
sing?
Pascal. No, we don't have time to sing.
Oh.
Thank you all very much for coming out. Listen, we all know how busy your time is right now, and I know the residents of Hamilton East Stoney Creek, they really do appreciate you making this time to join us here tonight at the Cable 14 debate. So thanks to each of you. As we finish off, here's the full list of your Hamilton East Stoney Creek candidates. Zagan Butt, representing the New Democratic Party. Heather Curnew, representing the Ontario Party. Visala Derlatka, representing the New Blue Party. We have Heino Dosing, representing the Liberal Party. Drew Garvey, representing the Communist Party. Neil Lumsden, the Progressive Conservative candidate. And Pascal Marchand, representing the Green Party. Remember, if you missed any part of the Cable 14's local riding debates, you'll be able to find them on demand at cable14.com. Free for public viewing and sharing, all courtesy of our friends at Cogeco and Rogers, as of 12 a.m. on Saturday, February the 22nd. Thanks again to our media panel from the Hamilton Spectator, CBC, and CHCH. Most importantly, thank you. Thank you for watching. And please do your part and vote in the provincial election on or before February 27th. Closed captioning for the Hamilton Provincial Candidates Debate has been sponsored by the Cornerstone Association of Realtors. Homes, not hurdles. Local realtors advocating for attainable homes for everyone.